I have a very interesting lens with me today. It's the 7Artisan 35mm F0.95 lens. And let's see how good it is. Hi there, my name is Peter Forsgaard and I am a professional photographer from Helsinki, Finland. Let's get right into the business and start with the disclaimer. This lens was sent to me by 7Artisans. And they did not ask me to do this video, but I get to keep this lens. Now then, all the legal stuff is out of the way. Let's start talk about the lens. The first thing to mention is that this is a 35mm lens, so it's an equivalent of field of view of 70mm if we compare it to full frame. It's a pretty odd focal length for micro four thirds, 35mm. But the reason that it is 35 is that it's actually an APS-C lens. Of course, this one has micro four thirds mount. Let's talk about the look and feel of this lens. This lens is very well made, like most lenses are today. And usually the third-party lens makers make lenses that are kind of like or they have a vintage look, but this lens looks really modern and it's really smooth surface, and it's kind of, you know, modern looking. And even though I tend to like the vintage look on lenses, but I still enjoyed the look of this lens. And it has the aperture ring here in the front, and that was something that actually was a bit strange. Sometimes when I was trying to make the focus, I was grabbing the front and was wondering what's going on. And that's something to get used to, because usually I'm used to, if you have a focusing, not the focusing, but the aperture ring, you have it this, and the focusing ring is in the front. But this has a bit different. It's not a big deal, but it's something that to consider, that if you are using this manual focus lens in a situation where you need to focus fast, then you might have a bit of a trouble. The lens weighs about 370 grams, so it's not the lightest and the smallest lens in that sense. The filter thread is 52 millimeters, and here are the other measurements of this lens. And here is also the split view, where you can see how many lenses there are in this particular lens, or how many lens elements, what you call those. But let's go outside and see what I did with this lens, and then come back and we will talk a bit more about the manufacturer, 7Artisans. Oh yes, surprise, surprise, it's raining again. Every time I'm out, it's raining. Well, that was my mistake today, because I was planning on doing this video this morning, but then I had some other stuff to do, so I decided to come in the afternoon, and in the afternoon the weather isn't nice anymore. But that's me. Let's talk about the handling of this lens. First I need to have the very nice lens cap on. The handling of this video, oh gosh, it's not my day today. The handling of this lens is quite good. It has a non-click aperture ring, which is not my favorite when we talk about photography, but for video work that's really good, because then you can smoothly change the aperture without any clicks or any sound or any hard changes in the exposure. It will be smooth, nice and smooth, and that's good for that. And then the focusing ring feels really good, and it's not too long for photography, so it's a kind of like a compromise between a video lens and a photographic lens. This is definitely a photo lens, but the non-click aperture is more common with video glass, and it feels very solid, and all the markings are carved in, so they're not painted in, they're carved in, which makes it a bit more premium look. And if you look at the package where this lens is, it also gives the impression of a fine lens, and it is very well made. It's not weather sealed, that's why I'm keeping my camera this way, because I don't want that to get too wet, so that I won't ruin the camera, because if you don't have a fully weather sealed lens with your camera, then there might be some water going between the lens and the body. But let's continue and I will make some more images. Yeah, 7Artisan is a Chinese lens company, and I kind of love the name 7Artisan. It gives this very prestige feeling of the lens when it's made, like artisan beer, artisan gins, and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of a thing, and I just love the name. It's a beautiful name, and also the story behind how this lens manufacturer was formed. And I quote their website. 7Artisans is a group of Chinese camera enthusiasts who came together for a dinner in the summer of 2015. They discussed their passions over the dinner table. Some were interested in optical design, while others were more skilled at running factory production lines, and one was an avid Leica lens collector. Everyone who participated came to the same conclusion. If we involve our skills and work together, we can create new, highly quality original camera lenses. That is how the 7Artisan project began. I really love that story. You know, a bunch of camera enthusiasts sat down for a dinner and you know, formed a company that made these beautiful looking and, as you will see, quite good quality lenses. I don't know if that story is true, but let's not ruin good stories with facts on this. I just love the story of 7Artisan. Image quality is always an important thing, and let's talk about that for a little while. But I have divided this into two parts about this image quality. Let's talk about the technical image quality first, and then let's talk about the character of the image quality or the images. First of all, there's nothing wrong with the technical quality of the images. They are really sharp, or let's say that's sharp enough. Of course, at F0.95 the sharpness is not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. Even though, you know, if you get a lens with F0.95, you want to use it because that's why you got it. It's no use if you don't ever use that fastest aperture. So that's why I did on these images. I hope you enjoyed those images, and as you can see, the character of the lens or the images were really nice. They had this really nice creamy look, and I really like the fall off from sharp to unsharp, or the depth or the shallow depth of field, and it looks really nice with the lens full open. But then there is, if you stop down a bit and you start looking at the bokeh, it still looks pretty nice, but for some reason it's a bit busy. You know, it's a bit distracting background with if you stop down a bit, and that's something a bit strange that I couldn't really figure out. It's not really bad, but using the F0.95 is actually a good idea, even though the sharpness isn't at its best. If you want to get real sharp images, then 2.8 is probably the best aperture to use if you just want the best possible image quality. But then you lose a bit of the character that it has with F0.95. Which I find to be really nice. And the render of the colors are totally okay. I tend to make a bit oversaturated colors in some of my images, especially those images that I took in the what do you call it? The cherry tree park where they had the cherry blossoms. Of course, the Hanami was cancelled because of the virus situation, but the trees didn't know that, so they were nice cherry blossoms as you saw from those images. But to conclude the image quality part is that I really like the character of the lens, even though it's not the sharpest at 0.95, which was of course expected. But if you want to get sharp all over, then go to 2.8. But let's continue and let's go back outside. Yeah, it's still raining. But, what can you do? Okay, let's talk about who is this lens for. As I said in the beginning that the 35mm focal length is a bit odd for micro four thirds. So who is this for? I would say that this one is really great for portraits, which I did not do this time when I was kind of doing the first impression. But I will do a photo shoot with this and doing portraits. And if it's already online, you can watch it from there. And then of course, a general street photography and landscapes. You don't need to have always a wide angle lens for those two genres. Try to do landscape and also street photography with this. It's also very good for close-ups because of the very narrow depth of field, which can give you the very dreamy look. But of course, bokeh isn't everything. But before I get back to the office, I will grab a few more images. I'm getting wet. It's not nice. Maybe I'll finish the video indoors after I've taken a few shots. I might grab a few images of those trees. I don't know, they're pretty far away. Maybe I'll grab the camera and we can see it from a bit closer where we have those trees. They are very nice shaped trees because we're pretty high up. As you can see, I don't want to go down there. And this is a pretty dangerous place when it's slippery slope here. And see if I can get an image a bit upwards. But let's try to do this. Don't want to fall down. If I do, then this video will be late. I don't know, maybe this way. Maybe, whoops, it's a bit slippery. Maybe this way. Yeah, that could be an image. Let's see what I can do about that. Yeah, quite abstract image. But I think it's time to go to my office. Not nice at all, this weather. Let's start walking towards the car. And be careful again. What I really like about these Chinese companies is that they are challenging the traditional lens makers, like 7Artisans is one, then we have Laowa and Mitacon. ZY Optics, I think is the official name, and Laowa is made by Venus Optics. And I really like that because that, as I said, will make a more selection for us photographers to have lenses, different lenses. And that's really, really important. Because then when there's competition, there's more for us to choose from. And as I said, I really like these characteristics of these lenses. They seem to be like, at the same time, they are modern lenses, and also they have this kind of a vintage look in their images that are grabbed with or photographed with these lenses. Look at this. I think these are, not sure if they're Canadian geese or what we call them, shit machines, because they shit all over the place, as you can see here. Yeah, that's what I call them, the shit machines. I don't have that many photographs, to be honest, so I have to come back tomorrow morning and do some more images to get something for you to look at. I hope you enjoyed those images too. And as you saw that this lens is really an interesting lens, and it's not very expensive. It's $249 in their website, and I think that's a really good value for money. If you don't mind the a bit odd focal length 35 millimeters, then this lens is something to consider if you are familiar with manual focus. And that's one thing. If you are not familiar with manual focus, then you might have some hard time get sharp images because it's not that easy. But remember that you can set magnify and peaking to a button so that you can use those, because this lens does not have any electronic connections here, so it's fully manual. And also remember to set, if you have using lenses like this, which doesn't have any electricity going through, then it's a good thing to set the lens info in your camera. And here are some other videos that are from third-party manufacturers that I've tested. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.